Hello and welcome to our first podcast of the draft season at Over Under Football. Myself and Mike are going to run through some of our top prospects, how we rate them, and very excited to be going through the skill position players today. What we're going to do is look at quarterbacks, receivers, and running backs. So offensive skill position players, and we're really approaching this from a very raw perspective right now, just ranking them on what we've seen in college to the moment. We haven't. Don't know about yourself, Mike. I don't want to speak for you.
Very fond ahoy to you, Thomas. I will just say my webcam is experiencing severe difficulties, so I'm here on audio only. And to be honest, I didn't catch your question there because it broke up. So what was it you were asking me?
This is a very raw list on what we've seen in college, and I haven't really stuck on any tape on any of these players yet, Mike. Similar for you, I imagine.
Yeah, that's very fair to say. I've got a vague idea on some of these skill guys we're talking about today, but yeah, I need to get in a lot more of the nitty gritty. A lot of QB school episodes to watch here. That'll be a lot of what my future analysis of quarterbacks is built on. JT McDaniels there on YouTube doing. I'm going to pay him his due throughout these episodes that we do because everybody should watch his film breakdowns on quarterbacks. For me, that's the best way to analyze QBs before the draft. So yeah, no, lots of work to be done, but we'll start off with your sort of short list here, and we'll build it out to a long list. I'd suggest for the podcast. Yeah. Maybe we have a shared long list before things are said and done on draft night.
Sounds good.
So I'll just bring that up
for sharing my list here. We're going to start with the QBs of the class. Now we'll go at the top 5 here for now. Coming up with the top, easy for me to be honest. Everyone after 5, you can have them in any order you want really. Although I did take some satisfaction there, Mike, in having Adrian Martinez as the lowest ranked quarterback we'll be looking at. I thought you'd enjoy that.
Well, you know I do.
Yeah, of course. So if we have a look at the top 5 here, I've got Will Levis, Bryce Young, Hendon Hooker, Malik Cunningham, and CJ Stroud. So just going from the top here, let's have a look at Will Levis, Mike, if you wouldn't mind bringing up his scouting report here on the Draft Network, I believe.
Yeah, we should give them their due. They've always a good store of pre-draft information. So here's Will Levis, standing at you'd say a pro-ready 6'3", 232 pounds, Tom. And that's his 2022 season stats. But I think you and I would probably say that all of our evaluations are based off a college career. Would that be fair, Tom?
Yeah, it would. Yeah. He's put in some good work, first at Penn State, then when he went to Kentucky. A few notable wins on the schedule there. In his senior year, and he's definitely someone who seems to be getting better and better as his career goes on.
Yeah, and I think as well the change from a very much collegiate spread and shoot system at Penn State to going very much more under center in that more Shanahan style West Coast system. They've actually been Kentucky have actually been borrowing offensive assistants from the 49ers and Rams coaching staffs respectively to run their offense. And you can really see that with Will Levis. I think his 2021 was more impressive than his 2022. I think everybody would agree with that on the draft analysis this year. But I would say a little bit, and this is probably gonna scare a few people, but for me, a little bit of the Josh Allen's about him in terms of he's very big. Yeah. Very raw, very can be mobile, can move outside the pocket. Not as well as Josh Allen, but he can move. Prototypical size, but with the same infuriating inconsistencies that Josh Allen demonstrated at college. So he's more of a project than some of these other players, I would suggest.
He is, yeah. He's got all the throws. You see him thread the needle from time to time. Some great throws in the end zone, back corner of the end zone, putting it the only place it can be caught, stuff like that. And as you said, when he was at Penn State, they ran him a lot more. He became a very much under center passer the last couple seasons, and still maybe getting used to that. But I like the body of work he's got through starting for those 3 years. And when you talk about why he's number one for me, it's really the size and the durability at the next level compared to pretty much all the other guys we're going to go through in this top 5. And I do think, if we just saw a Super Bowl where Mahomes played Jalen Hurts, and the rise of Josh Allen, it's definitely more the athletic, bigger bodied quarterbacks who seem to be sticking around longer and prevailing in the NFL these days. And this is not something I've really rated on too much in the past, but it is a trend that's growing. And particularly, I think, if you look at Will Levis doing the Josh Allen things with his legs and stuff, sort of jumping over people in the open field, some highlight reels like that, he really stands out as one of these guys you can run in a spread offense, but then also getting bootlegging out and doing all sorts as most modern day NFL offenses require these days.
Yeah, and creating out of structure as well. When the play breaks down, can you make something happen? And that's so key in the NFL. There's a lot more defensive disruption than in the college game. Even in the SEC, where Will Levis was playing the last couple of years for Kentucky, he'll see a lot more defensive linemen in his face in the pro game. So that's been a huge thing. Young quarterbacks that have succeeded. Even Mac Jones, actually, in his rookie year, showed more pocket awareness and ability to create outside the pocket than I saw on tape in college, and that really helped him out. So I think that even that demonstrates you just have to have more of that in your game than you used to. I think certainly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go on.
Standout win, for Will Levis might stand out win probably at Florida in his senior year, you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. That's pretty tough to top rivalry, SEC rivalry game. Statement win there for me. And I just think as well, it's just that it's the body of work as well. You can see it in flashes. It's kind of maybe more like, I'm trying to think who else he's like, maybe like a young Ben Roethlisberger, where you can see it, it's there, there's magic there, but also he'll throw like an absolutely brain dead interception the next drive. So it will need, for me, obviously the best fit for me will be and we'll come on to this more as we go through all of these, but all of these episodes. But yeah, if he can get himself into a Shanahan system somehow at the next level, that would just be a perfect fit. Sit on the bench and learn. I could definitely see the LA Rams doing that if he was to fall to them somehow. So we should probably hustle on here because we spent a lot of time on Will Levis, but brings, in terms of creating outside the pocket, Bryce Young, Tom, I'd say he had a bit of that about his game too.
Yeah, excellent. And the only reason why he's lower for me at the moment is just what I said about the physical traits. We see quite a few of these guys come into the NFL and struggle to stay healthy. Even Burrows had issues staying healthy, despite how amazing he's been. And Bryce Young, very similar frame there, although a bit much more athletic. And I think he might be the best true passer in this class. There's really few faults you can pick with his game in terms of throwing ability, leading the team to come back from deficits, leadership qualities, all sorts of stuff. He's pretty much nailed on as a sure thing as you can hope for. Alabama with a history of producing good NFL quarterbacks. They didn't for a while, and they have recently. So I think he's a solid prospect to me. Like he may well be number one when we get through with this process, but for now he's number two for me.
Yeah, it's one of those interesting things you tend to get every year is who will go number one in the draft, and then who ends up being the best pro prospect often aren't the same person. I think we're important to say we're not forecasting where these players are necessarily going to draft. This is always going to be where we rank them. I would never have Bryce Young at the top of this list, I don't think, but I think he will go first. I'm not sure he'll fall beyond the Houston Texans, to be honest. I think they've got deep Alabama connections with their Patriots connection there in their front office. I don't think there's any way he falls beyond the Houston Texans. They're just desperate for a quarterback, and he'd be an immediate, enormous upgrade for them. Yeah, durability, the issue. Missed time every year, I think, that he started. And just 6 foot, 194 pounds. That we've seen it with Kyler Murray a little bit. As you say, even Burrow, who has got prototypical height, but very skinny. These players are starting to get the attrition wears them down in the NFL. So that you would have that as his big weakness. And I think often the case, which makes Alabama players hard to quarterbacks in particular hard to project, is the receiver talent they've had there. In the years that he's been quarterback has just been absolutely sensational. He's throwing to wide open people. It's some of the issues I had with evaluating Trevor Lawrence when he came out of Clemson. There's just people too open to make any kind of evaluation on a vast majority of his throws. But he certainly can fit it in, and he displays he's got all the clubs as well. He can loft it, he can drive it. He'll throw with anticipation sometimes. I'm not going to say all the time. I don't think any of these 5 players that we're going to talk about here throw with anticipation all the time. With extensive film reviews still to be done, that would be my suspicion. But yeah, those are just my initial thoughts on Bryce Young. Probably would be QB 2 or 3 for me too, Tom. I would say if I was making my own list. Yeah,
sounds good. Let's keep it moving here and get on to the third rated quarterback on my initial list, which is Tennessee's Hendon Hooker.
This is where you've lost me already, and this is where the glee is going to light up your face here. Talking about Hendon Hooker, you have the floor.
I mean, watching this guy last year was probably the funnest aspect of college football for me, I have to say. Last year, watching him light it up both with his arm and legs, really commanding that spread offense really well. He's got good size and good athleticism, which I like. The arm is raw, but he's certainly got the tools, I think, that's going to project well to the next level. And he's got the statement wins as well, which you like to see. An older guy, we should say as well. He's been around for a while, so it's not just a case of he's burst onto the scene last year. He had a great year, but he's been working hard for a long time to get better. Again, as I said previously, you can see the progression year over year. It came to fruition last year. And I just think this guy's pretty much the most explosive Vince Young type talent on this board. I'm not going to say he's like him, but kind of the player that pops the most for me is Hendon Hooker. So I've rated him above other pocket passers in this class and above other athletes, just because he's an all-rounder for me.
Yeah, I think that's all really fair. I think he's a superb athlete, just a natural fluid runner with a huge frame, prototypical frame, Hendon Hooker. I would say for me, the issues are going to be with the offense that he played in the college level. Just is not sophisticated enough to lend itself to being anywhere near ready to play at the NFL level. I think you'd probably need to sit him for 2 years. And the issue that then creates for me, and I need to get into looking at film, which I say the QB school is brilliant for that. It will be able to look at a lot of his throws on tape. I think there was a new Hendon Hooker video on that put up today, so I'll get a better idea soon. But I'd be surprised if he had any more than 3 or 4 throws last year where he threw with pro level anticipation into a window. So the whole thing is just a huge projection for me, and what I call the Brandon Weeden factor with Hendon Hooker as well. He's already a 26-year-old insurance salesman by the look of him. He's no whippersnapper. He's a grown man, which you would normally say would be a benefit, but I don't know if you can draft him in the first round of the draft if he's already got that much tread on the tires. Those would be my negatives, but the film may take me in a different route before we get to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't be so concerned about the tread on the tires for the fact he probably wouldn't run it as much at the pro level. And I know Whedon's a terrible example, but I really value experience playing in college and just game time. Now I think is a massive factor for me when I'm looking at these prospects. You see someone like Zach Wilson come in after one season, and people go crazy over that, but it's really about what they've done over a sustained period of time. So that's more why it's interesting that we value that differently. But that's my take on the older quarterback, at least.
Yeah, my concern is not wear and tear. Sorry, when I say that, it's that he's already hit his ceiling. Like it took him until he was 24, right, 25 to really flourish at the collegiate level. Is that him tapped out now? Would be my concern. Is there any more growth in to make at the pro level? Another Tennessee volunteer, I would say, with Josh Dobbs. Maybe that was true about as well. Played until his senior year at Tennessee, and then has never really done anything in the NFL. So. Yeah, that would just be my concern with that. Okay. Next one, Malik Cunningham. Literally, I don't think I've seen him play an entire game in his entire collegiate career. I know very little about him other than obviously he's a brilliant athlete and scrambler. So you better take the lead on this one, Tom.
Yeah, if you bring it up there, I mean, again, I haven't seen a massive amount of Malik Cunningham, but from what I've seen in the highlights, the athleticism is top class here, and I just feel, coming obviously from a family of quarterbacks, he's well coached. He's going to have good instincts to go with that athleticism, and I just like I like his athleticism so much that it's really propelled him ahead of the other quarterbacks. From here on down, the quarterbacks, for me at the moment, they're kind of. It's hard to rate them all against each other, and it was just his athletic traits really that maybe get him to number 4. I probably think you're looking at Levis and Young as nailed on first rounders, and everyone after that might be taken second down. But yeah, I think Malik Cunningham is certainly, the ceiling is high with him. I'll say that.
Great. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously you're looking at that frame. You're looking at like a Lamar Jackson type frame. So he'd have to have that kind of elusiveness, I think, to survive at the NFL level. Whether his projection will be whether you think he's Lamar Jackson, or whether you think he's a Josh Dobbs or one of these very athletic quarterbacks that just doesn't quite have it. Poor Josh Dobbs is getting absolutely kicking on this podcast. I don't mean to do that, but he would need to, again, to warrant first round top 5 consideration. He'd probably have to have Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson athletic traits. That'll be shown at the combine. If it is, he may choose not to run at the combine, which I think would probably be a mistake for him, because I don't think he's a Lamar Jackson. Probably. We'll see. Well, I think we know who that brings us on to now. I think this will be our final QB today. I'll do some honourable mentions from here, Tom, but I think this is the last one we should do detail on. CJ of the Ohio State University. What say you?
CJ Stroud. Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, I haven't really looked at anyone else's rankings, which mine might be a little topsy-turvy compared to the accepted norm. But there's just my initial rankings. And CJ Stroud, he comes from a system that hasn't produced an NFL quarterback. I believe that's right. Yeah, they haven't. Really just that, I think, is hindering him. As you mentioned before, the throws, it's the offense, a lot of the throws just on schedule, on timing. The supporting cast is incredible. So he's throwing to open receivers all the time. It's just really hard to evaluate him properly. And yeah, I thought he might be able to lead him to a championship this year. He didn't quite have enough juice to get them there as well. So that's just a number of things that have a number 5 for me. But I can see why people would like him a lot more, but I wouldn't get too caught up on Ohio State quarterbacks just from what history's shown us.
That's fair. I mean, I would say with Justin Fields, I think he was maybe miscast coming out of Ohio State as to what he was going to be. He was always very much going to be a dual threat guy at the next level. And for some reason, the Chicago Bears opted to use him like a pocket passer. I think CJ Stroud is that pocket passer that you want Justin Fields to be. I think he doesn't do it. No college quarterback does it regularly, but I think he does demonstrate the ability to throw with anticipation, which is a huge thing in the NFL. he put on. I know I do agree with your assessment on the tape. How many quality opponents does he play? Playing for OSU, they don't play many good teams.
Yeah.
However, that would have been my take before the Georgia game this year, where he played his best game in college against the best defense in probably college football, like one of the best 2 or 3 defenses, maybe last year's Georgia defense, Alabama's defense from 3 or 4 years ago, maybe the best college defense in the last decade. He played his best game of his collegiate career, which does say something about him, I think. And he's very much more prototypical size here, 6'3", 218 pounds. I think you can realistically expect him to add 10 pounds in an NFL weight room. I'm a lot higher on him than you. I don't know. That's not a criticism. It's really, really, really difficult to project these guys as NFL players. We don't often get it 100% right. We don't get close to getting it. I mean, if you get 50% right, you're doing a brilliant job. So one of us is probably going to be wrong on CJ Stroud. He's that kind of prospect. He's boom or bust. I don't think he'll make it beyond. The Indianapolis Colts will draft CJ Stroud. I don't. With their ownership group and their new head, their head coach set up now, I just can't see him falling beyond there. So I think he will go very high. I would probably have him as the number 2 at the moment, but I would have to watch more film before nailing him down before the draft. So quite a difference from you there on CJ Stroud, Tom.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I can absolutely see why people rank him highly, and maybe just me trying to be a little bit different there. But I'll go back and watch the tape, and I may well move these guys around. I'll have a look and see. But at the moment, that's my top 5, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh yeah, and you should. You can only rank people where you think they should be ranked. You can't go off what other people. That is the road to madness.
True, it's true.
Right.
Yeah. So a few other guys here.
I
mean, I had McKee and Richardson joint 6 there. Just McKee's obviously a good pocket passer with throws actually with good anticipation, and he's got a good head and shoulders, a good leader. Anthony Richardson is just a very raw physical prospect, pretty much the polar opposite of Tanner McKee. But I just couldn't really choose between him who the next one would be, so I had them both there. Aidan O'Connell, I've always enjoyed watching him play at Purdue. Another one, I think he's got a good head in his shoulders and a good understanding. And what it would take to play QB at the next level, I think he could absolutely come in and be a good quality backup. Similar to David Blau, actually, another Purdue prospect who's made a decent living being a backup so far in the NFL. Tanner Morgan, similar. He's quite old. He might be the oldest prospect on this list, but I think if you're looking for a backup, he'd be decent enough to fill a hole. Stetson Bennett, he's Stetson Bennett, isn't he? He's hard to, I rank him higher than Clifford and Martinez. Just Clifford and Martinez, I can't see really having much to do in the NFL. But I think Bennett may well be a backup or 3rd string. So and again, this isn't all the quarterbacks coming out. This is just the ones that I kind of know about. So this is my list.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Bennett ends up holding a clipboard in the NFL for 10 years. I could see him sticking around as a backup. Somewhere that values his intelligence and his anticipatory throws in a pro-style system. Obviously, he's not blessed with, I think it's fair to say, any physical gifts, really. He really has maximized his physical talent to be able to play at the level he's played at. So you definitely have to give him credit for that. But I would agree. Someone that I've seen a lot is the reason I'm talking about him now. That's why I feel confident talking about him. I think he'd be an excellent he'll be an excellent quarterback coach one day. Is his NFL future, I think, if that's what he wants to do. So Anthony Richardson is one that intrigues me as a backup that could come in and play 4 or 5 games a year for you if your starter gets injured. I think he displays intriguing physical ability with enough moxie in the pocket, enough toughness, and enough accuracy throwing the football that would have me very interested in like the 4th, 5th, 6th round, the sort of Kirk Cousins territory, I call it. of the draft.
Yeah.
That had me very interested. So yeah, no, some interesting names left on the list, and yeah, we'll probably try and dig more into those guys as we get closer to the draft, because I feel like the top five everybody will know all about and will have watched film on by next week probably. Everyone will have their 1 to 5. We want to do something a bit different on this pod, I would suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. If we swing over to should we look at receivers next? Just a quick rundown.
Yeah. So where is it?
I mean, there's not many.
Where is it in the
sheet?
sheet?
There you go.
There you go.
Changed it there. Now, I mean, receivers was one that at the moment, these are the only ones I've kind of know anything about whatsoever. And I feel like a lot of people would have my number 1 and 2 differently. But I just love Quentin Johnston for what he showed me in the playoffs this year for TCU and some of those big games, just absolutely dominating defensive backs like they had no right to even be covering him. Just a supreme physical talent there to go up and get the ball. I tend to value that quite a lot. I feel like he could be a sort of Calvin Johnson type product. I'm sure there are a lot of people making those comparisons to him, but I just think he's pretty much going to be a slam dunk. And again, you talk about the physical stature of the man. He's doesn't really come with any injury threats whatsoever, and should stand to have a good career in the NFL.
The draft dude's not agreeing with your spelling of Quentin Johnston there, Tom. I've been unable to find him. I don't know how it's spelled either, so we're just going to move past that. I like Quentin Johnston as well.
Yeah, sorry, it's Johnston with a T.
Okay. Well, we'll have that corrected.
That'd be my problem.
Yeah, by the next episode. Yeah, look, very quickly, I just haven't watched enough film on a lot of these guys yet. I didn't watch a lot of college football last year. Quentin Johnston, I really kind of missed his breakout season on the national stage. Not watching a lot last year. I did watch in the college football championship, and contested catch will be my thing with him, and that's a huge thing in the NFL. You've got both ends of that scale. You've got people like Arcega-Whiteside from Stanford, famously went to the Eagles and was a bust as a contested catch guy. But then obviously you've got the likes of George Pickens of more recent to vintage who have come in and looked phenomenal in that kind of role. The guy that plays for the Bengals opposite Chase. He's
T. Higgins.
Higgins, thank you. Yeah. T. Higgins, I would say, would be a similar comp for Quentin Johnston. Like that, if you got that out of Quentin Johnston, you'd be delighted. I think that's kind of the player that you're clearly at the moment you feel like he might be at this initial stage, which I could definitely see someone jumping at a T. Higgins in the first round for sure. Jackson Smith-Njigba is a phenomenal with the ball in his hands, punt returns genius almost, you could call him. Route running will be sensational coming out of OSU. Brian Hartline will have him drilled running routes. The thing with Jackson Smith-Njigba is he probably won't run at the combine, and there is a suspicion that he kind of tops out at a 4.5 anyway. So if he doesn't run, it'll be really interesting. Having basically skipped his final year at OSU, let's get it straight. There was an injury. How severe was that injury? I think probably not at all. He just basically decided to sit out a year, which a lot of top players will start to do now in college football, I suspect. And that does leave him in an interesting place. The film is phenomenal. Very, very similar, different position, but same as Stingley last year. You're just going to have to go on his sophomore and freshman film to decide if you want to draft him in the top 10 of the draft or not. I'd be a bit wary if it was me. Ronnie Bell of Michigan is just rugged. He's the only other one I've seen on this list a lot of, just an extremely rugged receiver, pro-ready in the blocking game. He'll take a screen catch view or two. Not a sensational athlete, but could very well end up being a slot sort of chain mover in the NFL. Whether that merits a first-round pick, I don't know. I'd have to go and look at a bit more tape on him. I suspect a second or third-round pick for him would be where he should go, and it could be a very useful addition for an already built receiving core in the NFL. I don't think you'd want him to come in and be a number one, certainly.
No, that's true. Yeah, Hyatt from Tennessee, just raw gas. I mean, he's a lot of people expecting him to run under a 4.3 at the combine, so that'd be interesting to see. Probably would were in a first round pick, one of those late first rounders. Jordan Addison, just a very solid route runner, good hands there out of SC. Transferred from Pitt, I believe, and didn't maybe have the year that people were hoping he would there at SC. I'm always slightly averse to some Pac-12 receivers. I don't know what it is, but it's probably just my bias coming through there. But yeah, he's from what I've heard, he's shown enough to be 4 on the initial list, and then Keishon Butte making the list for the name more than anything else there. But
Booty.
Booty. Seen a number of highlight reels of him. Seen a few games in the SEC of him, and yeah, just a very very competent receiver there. Probably not as polished as some of the other receivers we've seen out of LSU come lately, but again, you can't really go wrong these days taking a receiver from LSU. So he rounds off the list there. I've really got to take a bigger look at probably 3 to 6. But again, as I said, I think a lot of people might have Smith and Jigba 1, or maybe even Addison 1, and Johnston 2. But I'm going to stick to Johnston number 1 for now.
Yeah, I think Addison will creep up there. The more people start watching that USC tape, I think. The interesting thing will be to see in recent years the trend has gone to really freakish athletes being drafted high as always, and then just who looks the best on film, like Chase, Devonta Smith. They're not prototypically built receivers or brilliant athletes, but they've been taken high because they get open and they catch the ball. For a long time, the NFL didn't seem to value that in first round receivers, but I think that probably is the way it's going, but we'll see.
I think so. And you have a number of offenses who now have multiple first round picks at receiver. It's a position you can load up on, so you can afford to take a smaller guy as well, knowing he's probably not going to be the number 1 option, have that kind of weight on his shoulders in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, conventional wisdom would be you would take one brilliant receiver and then you don't need any others, whereas now they'll spread the money amongst 3 young receivers that were taken in the first round, and you let one go and bring a new one in. That seems to be the way it's going at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, with 5 minutes to go here, let me just filter this onto the running backs. We could do a whole session on these running backs. This is a huge class, Mike. I'm very excited to get into our work here on these running backs because I think pretty much all 10 of these are NFL caliber starting running backs, to be honest.
And let's face it, running back film is everyone's favorite film. So always good to watch. It's the only way I learn anything about offensive linemen pre-draft as well. Just see who's mauling in the running game. It gives me a good feel.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. 2 birds with 1 stone, as it were. Lovely. Now, Bijan Robinson is the consensus number 1 for most people. It's just some crazy runs of his at Texas. I can remember standing out to me watching some of those games on the highlight reels. Just excellent size, freakish athlete. And probably can do it all in terms of catching, blocking, running. Deuce Vaughn, loved him a lot at Kansas State. I like running backs that carry the load in college teams because I think you can get some good. There is going to be tread in the tires, but it hasn't been a massive issue. In the past we've seen Derrick Henry come out with a huge workload. Last year was Kenneth Walker after they basically ran him all the time up there. Came through, had a very good rookie campaign. So tread in the tire doesn't seem to worry me too much. I think Deuce Vaughn could be a very capable back of carrying a big workload. And then the rest, it's really tough to tell where these guys are going to go and always where to rate them. One guy that did stand out to me that I like is Mohamed Ibrahim from Minnesota, and I don't think a lot of people have him as high as I have because of his size. I believe he barely touches 5'7", but he's a robust 200 pounds at 5'7", and again, a huge workload for Minnesota. But if you talk about someone just carrying a team on his back, I mean, my goodness, did he do that for them? So he's a very interesting one to look at. And in terms of a big bowling ball, Chris Rodriguez Jr. out of Kentucky, he's I saw a number of their games last year. He was just absolutely carrying defenders with him. So he's certainly wins the bowling ball competition for me out of this bunch. And then
Bowling ball.
you've got a couple. Yeah. And then, some of the other ones, I've seen good flashes of them. My ratings are really just based on what I can remember of seeing them at the moment. So I'm sure, again, this will change. But this is a really fun class here. I think all these guys, as I've said, are NFL talents.
Yeah, honestly, I'm starting completely at ground zero. A lot of these players, I've only seen Bijan Robinson and A-Chain run on TV. A lot of these, Jahmyr Gibbs, I may have seen a few select carries here and there, but I haven't seen many. So I've got a long way to go. I suspect Bijan Robinson will be the consensus one for everyone. He looks like an absolutely phenomenal talent. I'd expect him to go down the bottom of the first round here this year. I think my personal feeling on running back drafting philosophy, I think, would be that I would never go higher than that for a running back. It'd be, I think you probably would, Tom, depending on the player. But yeah, my philosophy would push it too much. The interesting thing, actually thinking about it, just on a selfish note, the Eagles will probably be letting Miles Sanders walk in the offseason. One of our 2 first-round picks on Bijan Robinson would be a very nice top up for that Eagles roster.
Yeah, I think I heard some chatter about that already, that they might be looking at a running back. And I mean, certainly a lot of these guys would fit the mold. A lot of them are short and stout and can have some wiggle to them. So they go down nicely in that offense.
Yeah. And you, Tom, would you still, just to finish on, would you theoretically, if there was Derrick Henry again, you knew he was going to be Derrick Henry, would you take him number 1 overall potentially for a team?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I just love a nice running game, nice ground and pound. Though I think I would. But yeah, you'd have to be a very special talent. But Bijan, he might be that. So yeah, I think I would use a top 10 on him. Just like I would have on Saquon Barkley. I was pretty bullish on that as well. I just think you don't have to just line him up at running back the whole time. You can get the ball to them in multiple ways. And just think of it that way. Just think of the value they bring as a skill position player other than a standard running back.
Yeah. And the contract's still fairly affordable when they're young. So I can see that.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Cool. It's been a pleasure as always. I will actually go away and watch some film. I know I've been promising to do that, and I've yet to do it. So I'll go and do that, and we'll reconvene next week.
Yeah, sounds good. A lot of fun as always. Go well. I'll see you later.
Go well.